M1 MacBook Air in 2025 still works great? Let's find out into this video. Okay, so the first question into this video can be why I want to talk about the M1 MacBook Air from 2020 in 2025. In my opinion, this MacBook is extremely interesting because it was part of the first lineup of Apple Silicon MacBooks, and this one especially, the M1 MacBook Air, the base model, got a really amazing and huge success. And the focus of this video will be to show you how this Mac works today after all this time. In my case, as a student on one end, so like a base use, and on the second way I use it, so for content creation like photo editing, video editing, more complex things. Now the first thing I want to talk about this MacBook is the design and the general build quality, and actually I would say that there is nothing particular negative to say about this MacBook, because yeah, it's not the newest look that you can get on a MacBook, for example on the M2 MacBook Air, but still, even though it's a design coming from the past Intel MacBook Airs, it still looks great. It's in general well built. I've never had any particular problem. The only thing that maybe is a bit too old is the screen, because this one has the old rectangular and not the full-size screen with the notch above, but in my opinion that's not a big problem actually. As I've said before, the main focus of this video is gonna be about the performances of this MacBook. And I want to answer some main general questions about it. So how do I use it for in general? How many tasks can this MacBook hold today? And can I use it even for some professional things, some more complex things like photo editing and video editing? So let's try to answer these questions. In my case, as a student, I just have to say that this MacBook throughout the last 3 years, because yeah, I bought it in 2021, so it has been like 3 years of use. And in general, I've used it for 2 years at a high school and then in the last period for the university. And the experience has been just, it's a perfect computer. It doesn't have any particular issue for students. And it can hold every single task that the student can need. For example, the web browsing, like having lots of tabs, but even documents or mails, or even just listen to music while doing all the other stuff. And the big point of this MacBook is that the multitasking is perfect. In my case, usually, for example, last month I've been studying for an exam, and I've kept for days and days lots of apps open on the MacBook, and I've never had any particular problem, any particular crash. And so actually there's not much to say about this MacBook for students, or in general for people that work with web browsing, mails, documents, all the basic things that you can do with a computer. One important thing to talk about is the battery, because this MacBook has a really amazing battery, even though I've been using it for like every single day in 3 years, and so that's like extraordinary. At the moment at university, I don't use it every single moment throughout the day, so I cannot give you a particular data whether it lasts or not from morning to evening, but I need to say that in my case the battery is really amazing. It is to 84% if I'm not wrong. Apart from this MacBook has even the USB-C port with support a really quite fast charging, which is nice to have, and so the battery is not a problem even though a few years have passed now, so that's quite amazing. So we have now arrived to the main point of this video, which is using this MacBook for content creation, so like photo editing, video editing, all those things that are a bit difficult, more difficult for the MacBook rather than, for example, a student normal base usage. And we need to remember that this MacBook, like 1 year from the day that it was released, it had a cost of like less than $1,000 or euros, and so we cannot expect this to be a professional machine, but this is a base starting machine. On the photo editing side, I've been using throughout all these 3 years Capture One, which is not a perfectly optimized software for the MacBooks, but in general I would say that the workflow has always been pretty smooth. Consider that when I edit photos and even when I edit videos, I always keep lots of apps open, like maybe Spotify, Safari with lots of tabs, maybe Notion when I'm writing some videos, and so the MacBook in general has to deal with all these things. And so when I edit photos, I never keep Capture One as the only app open on the MacBook. But apart from this, in general, it works pretty fine. I usually apply lots of masks, lots of layers, and that's pretty smooth. Sometimes, yeah, it may happen that it has a little bit of lag when I'm maybe creating a particular mask, but in general I'm pretty satisfied considering that I cannot pretend too much. Moving on with the video editing, I have to say that even in this case my experience is pretty positive, because first of all I use DaVinci Resolve as my main software when I edit videos, and I always edit videos at 4K 30 FPS at maximum resolution, no optimized media, nothing to decrease the resolution, which, yeah, I should start doing this thing. And in general the playback in this case is pretty smooth, the editing is pretty smooth, even with music, maybe some b-rolls, text, all those things. But apart from this, the real problem starts to arrive when we move to the color grading. For example, in this period I've been even testing and reviewing Dehancer to color grade my videos, and you can find the whole review about Dehancer. And in general the process, even in this case, is pretty smooth, but this MacBook suffers when we go to the playback with the color grading applied. And so even in this case I cannot complain about this, because we are using a 4K 30 FPS f-log2 video with the color grading applied, and so I cannot say that this MacBook doesn't do its work. Apart from photo editing and video editing, I've been even using and testing this MacBook with other things, like for example Figma, to create some little basic designs, and even in that case no problems. I've been even, for example, doing some coding for the university, and even in that case no problems, just some basic things. And even I've tried to game, to use for example Minecraft on this MacBook, and it works. So in general this MacBook can handle lots of different apps, which are even tougher than for example just browsing on the internet, which is pretty easy for a computer. But in my case, with the photo editing and video editing, which are some things that I do like more ordinary, I don't have any particular negative thing to point and to say, because this MacBook does its work perfectly and I'm completely satisfied with it on the professional side. We have now arrived to the end of this video, and actually there's not much to say about this MacBook Air because it's just a perfect computer. There's not much to add. It's a really amazing piece of tech, especially for the base things like students or people that just work with web browsing, emails, documents, all those basic things. But even it can handle some more complex things, some complex apps. But actually I wouldn't buy today, obviously, this MacBook in 2025, just because there are the new versions like the M2, the M3 and the upcoming M4, which is coming pretty soon probably, that are really better in my opinion and make sense to just spend a bit more to get the new design and the new things. So just evaluate which one works for you, but obviously the base M1 is great, and so if you're gonna get an M2 and M3, it's gonna get even better, so that's just up to you. So that's all for this video. Let me know down in the comments whether you have, for example, any sort of question. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. So let's see you to the next video. Bye, see you soon.